Hey everybody, Casey here with Life Abstract Gaming, and this week I want to talk about one of Cartoon Network's newest shows, OKKO, Let's Be Heroes. OKKO is an animated show created by Ian Jones-Quartey, who has worked on both Adventure Time and Steven Universe. It premiered just last year in March, and now that Season 1 has come to an end, I can see it's definitely followed the formula laid out by the previous shows its creator has worked on. KO is a young boy who idolized the idea of being a hero and is surrounded by wacky characters who will teach him what that really means as he strives for his goal. It also uses the extremely popular hero genre as its backdrop, which you could say is a pretty shameless collection of successful ideas being brought together to make a profit. While this is a very cynical way to look at it, I'd argue that it's not incorrect. But with that being said, OKKO works despite that reason.
Dearie, can I pay for this in thousands of pennies?
To their credit, the show does mix things up and doesn't place any of its main characters in direct hero roles. Instead, they work in a convenience store that sells hero supplies, and their primary enemies are a bunch of robots from an evil warehouse directly across the street who really only exist to bug them specifically. They're just a small part of the world, and what the show really excels in is its world building. The idea of an idealistic protagonist in a bright and cheery world that has a dark history works well in both Adventure Time and Steven Universe, and the same is true for this show, though OKKO has yet to delve into full-on depression. It dips its toes into mysterious happenings and events that take place long before the main character was around, but they're always still pretty silly. That doesn't make them any less interesting though. The background stories concerning the superhero team Point, the lore around the POW cards that everyone collects to view their hero stats, and the struggles of Lord Boxmore to fit in with his supervillain peers all add serious depth to the story and help the strongest aspect of the show shine, which are its characters. OKKO has fantastic, fully developed characters. The main cast of KO, Rad, and Enid all have different personalities, but all share a pretty genuine friendship. That doesn't stop them from clashing with one another, which happens pretty often, and for believable reasons. Rad and Enid especially have a very interesting dynamic. There's even an entire episode that deep dives into why they aren't romantically involved, despite being so close, and why they still butt heads so much in the present. KO, on the other hand, is a little more simple, but that's because he's quite a bit younger, and his earnest personality demands it. But he's not free of more complicated emotions like self-doubt or jealousy, which even manifests into an alternate personality with the help of a mysterious villain. The main characters are really only a small piece of how well-rounded the cast is. Their boss, Mr. Gar, regularly gets exposition into his origins, and his complicated history with KO's mother is teased for a good while until being explained in a satisfying way. Characters who hang out in the background even get deep stories that dive into their origins and personality, like Red Action, who had a whole episode explaining her abandoning of a Power Ranger-like superhero squad from the future. The look of the show might be the line in the sand for some viewers. I'll admit that it's very goofy and basic looking, and oftentimes the characters can look pretty lazily drawn. But I do feel like it fits the feel of the show. It's made to look especially hand-drawn on purpose, as the show's design sense was partially inspired by both Season 1 of The Simpsons and the game Yoshi's Island. None of this, however, impedes the sense of movement, and for a show about superheroes, it does not disappoint in terms of action. Despite Adventure Time and Steven Universe looking like higher quality animations, OKKO by far does better action set pieces, and they do them quite often. Character battles are over the top and explosive in what looks like an homage to Japanese anime, which wouldn't be at all surprising as the opening sequence was apparently storyboarded by Hiroyuki Imaishi, the co-founder of Studio Trigger, famous for the bombastic anime Kill la Kill. There's been a lot of talk about the good old days of Cartoon Network, i.e. the 90s era folks my age grew up in versus the current state of the network. Some seem to believe nothing is as good as then, while others, like myself, would argue that Cartoon Network's quality has never been better. OKKO, Let's Be Heroes is a solid example of how awesome cartoons are today, but maybe that's a larger discussion for another day. So, what are your thoughts on OKKO? Have you been watching it? Will you start now? Is there something about it you just don't like? Let us know. We're listening.